Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done with All American Season 5, episode, I want to say 11, called Time. Guys, this was the episode that we kind of, were wondering, is somebody going to die in this episode or is somebody going to get injured? Mainly, I was thinking, is somebody going to get injured in this episode? I wouldn't even think I expected anybody was going to die in this episode. And really, this episode in general was a shocking episode. And I still can't process what happened in this episode. There was a lot of things that happened in this episode that I just was not expecting. That kind of came like out of nowhere, like that just came like literally like flew over my head, came out of nowhere, and I just was not expecting this episode to do the things that it did. We have a lot to talk about in this episode. We have a lot of things that happened in this episode. Mainly, we have a lot of things going on with Preach and Amina and the whole case to for Preach to get custody of Amina. We have a whole bunch of things going on with that. We have things going on with, of course, Layla and Clay. We have some things going on with Spencer and Jordan and Billy and the whole situation about Spencer, forgiving, like wondering whether or not if he should forgive Billy or even if he can forgive Billy for taking the coaching position at GAU. And of course, in this episode, we also have the big combine that's going on for Beverly, for South Crenshaw, and we have Asher. This is his big, coaching day of him, getting people for the combine. You know what I mean? To see who, like, pretty much, he's recruiting right now. That's what the combine's for. High school is recruiting. For colleges, to pick what player they want to get for their college, and that's exactly what Asher's doing. He's Coach Asher right now. He is, this is his first time really like this is his first combine to see in recruiting. Really, I would say this is like his first time really recruiting and doing the combine. So this is a big, moment for him, and we have stuff going on with him and Jamie in this episode, which was one of the biggest things I was not expecting in this episode, but it ended up happening, which I can't wait to talk about that. And we have Spencer also with stuff with Olivia and him him having that conversation with Olivia on if he wants to get back together with Olivia. So he has that conversation that he still has to have with Olivia in this episode. So there's just a lot of shit going on in this episode, and I still can't process all the stuff that went down. But for starters, we could talk about Layla, and we could talk about the whole Clay situation. And, with the whole Layla and Clay situation, we all kind of know Jordan kind of made it worse after Clay and Layla were kind of, pretty much, putting things at ease. They were kind of, settling. They were kind of putting their drama behind them, and they were moving forward. They were planning on being there for each other, and they were planning on supporting one another in both of their businesses and both of their labels. But Jordan kind of came in and kind of fought Layla's battle for her when things were kind of, they were putting things at ease between one another. And, in this episode, we have JP pop up in this episode, and JP pretty much, confronts Layla after being gone for so long about how, Layla took the Keening name from Clay, and pretty much, he was upset at Layla because that's my legacy, that name and that company when I gave it to Clay, but now that Clay has all of my resources and stuff, it's going to feel like my legacy is gone because you took the Keening name. When in all seriousness, you should have just gave it to Layla to begin with. That's what I thought. I was like, you should have just gave it to her. That's how your legacy stays. You know what I mean? And we end up finding out in this episode, that, he wants Layla to give the kind of the name back, fix the issue. He's like, he's like, you'll understand, when you get to the point of like what legacy means, when in reality, I feel like maybe he really didn't know what legacy meant, because if he really cared about legacy, he would have gave the Keening name to Layla, regardless about the company, but he would have gave the Keening name, to Layla to use instead of just giving the company and the name to Clay. So, in this episode, he wants Layla to give the name back to Clay, but, Layla was, right for asking for that name back because it's her legacy, it's her name, but also that, it gave Clay the motivation to start his own, to build his own empire with his own name. And that kind of pushed him to do what he really wanted to do. Like, he has no friends around him to push him to build his own company without having somebody's name on it. And kind of, Layla pushed him to do that, and actually, to start his own like label with his own name. So in reality, like, Layla, it was a win-win situation between Layla and Clay, but JP didn't see it that way. And I really do love in this episode where Layla tries to go back to Clay and says, "You can take my name back, you win." But he's like, "I really won. You motivated me to not run this company with somebody else's name, make my own legacy, and I can do that now. Well, and you can do that you could do what you wanted to do, and have your legacy and continue your father's legacy with your name. Go do it." And in seriousness, I'm so happy JP recognized that, he should have done that from the get-go. He should have gave Layla somebody who started from nothing, you know what I mean? Like, started from scratch, like, and the same as how JP started from scratch. And you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's kind of poetic where, he started from nothing and built his way up. She started from nothing and built her own legacy up, her own empire up. And you know what I mean? That's how, legacies work. You know what I mean? Like, she did the same thing you did. And, it was done for JP not to just give her the name, regardless of the company. He should have gave her the name for her to use the name. And, you know what I mean? And how it gave, Clay the opportunity to build his own empire up, too. And you know what I mean? While also making things right by giving, Layla her own name to build, so that way she can continue the legacy of their name. So that was a real win for this episode, but also I was kind of like really annoyed at JP because, he had the nerve to get on Layla when in reality, Layla was in the right for what she did. So I was really happy for that win in this episode with stuff going on with them. But what was going on with, Coop and Amina, I want to get to that next. With Coop and, with Coop, I guess with Preach and Amina and Coop and that whole situation, and also Amina's grandmother, coming into this episode, because we end up finding out that, Amina ends up showing up and pretty much, Preach is caught off guard because Amina shows up to the school, and pretty much, Amina's like, "Oh, well, grandma could said that I could stay with you for the weekend." He's like, "I'm not supposed to get you until like, I think Friday, like, I think he said, I'm not supposed to get you until like the weekend." She's like, "Well, this is an early start to the weekend." I forget what she really said. Like, "Oh, like," he's like, "I'm not supposed to get you whenever." And she's like, "Well, they said you could have me for the weekend." And right away I knew something was up, and my sister Annie's like, "Oh, I think she ran away." And I was like, "Oh my God, you could be right," because I thought it was weird that, for people that are like, for grandparents that want to fight for custody of Amina and doesn't want Preach to have anything to do with Amina, or have, Amina have anything to do with Preach. I find it weird that they're willing to let Preach have early, let Preach have Amina early for, like, for like, I guess, have her earlier than when they were supposed to give Amina to Preach. So I thought that was really weird. And, until the grandma shows up and says, "Oh, like, you're in big trouble," pretty much saying, like, to Preach, "Oh, we're going to take this to court or whatever." And pretty much we end up finding out that Amina ran away because they're apparently, Amina's grandparents are wanting to move her to Baltimore. And right away, Preach is like, "You're not going to be doing that." And right away, the grandmother thinks of Preach as just some, as just someone that's just, is a thug, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, I know who you are. And pretty much, is pretty much, like, not letting him, grow, not seeing that he's grown. It's not seeing that he doesn't do that stuff anymore. She kind of just, has an idea of who he is from things he used to do in the past. And she hasn't seen him grow. And in this episode, she actually does end up seeing him grow when she ends up seeing how he ends up putting two students in their place, pretty much saying that, no one's going to be looking out for you guys. Like, no one's going to be like, you're just setting yourself up for the people that slam doors in your faces. You know what I mean? To fix that, you guys need to, like, think about your futures and stuff like that. Pretty much sees that he's grown and that he's, and he's not the same person that he used to be. And I was really happy about that because actually the whole court situation gets summed up in this episode, where they no longer have to go to the court because, the grandmother's like, I think, we should have Amina for the weekends and you can have her whenever, you know what I mean? You can have her full time. I think we should have, we should do, I think they said, let's both have custody over Amina. Like, let's both do it or whatever. But, you can have her full time, but we get her, like, on the weekends. And that was really nice to have that kind of all sorted. I felt like it kind of felt too soon a little bit, but I was actually happy. I was like, I'm okay with this because this episode just feels so heavy with everything going on. So I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. That this kind of got all summed up by the grandmother seeing that Preach is not that same dude that she thought he was years ago. So I was happy about that she kind of, realized that she was wrong, and that actually realized that Amina does need her own father in her life, and thought moving her to Baltimore was dramatic, and she underestimated Preach and who he's become. So that was just really nice to have it summed up, but I did again feel like it was a little like it kind of resolved itself a little too quickly. I would have liked to see some courtroom sequences and stuff like that. You know what I mean? About because I feel like it would have benefited from Coop's storyline and how she's really jumped into kind of getting Preach ready to get him to fight for Amina in the court. I really do wish that we kind of would have got to see all that and saw Coop's hard work, or Coop's all the hard work that Coop put in to to get Preach ready for that trial. But it is what it is. I'm just happy that Preach gets to have custody of Amina, and that kind of got sorted out in this episode. But the biggest thing in this episode, and I can't wait to talk about this, is the fact that Jamie had something to tell Asher in this episode while he was getting ready for the combine. She wanted to tell him that she was pregnant, and I kid you not, my eyes went super wide, and I was like, so that just the writers, man, I was like, oh my god, like I was not expecting this. This was the last thing I was expecting from Asher's and Jamie's story. Is that was the last thing I was expecting Jamie to tell Asher, was that she was pregnant. And right away, Asher doesn't really know what to say. He's like, oh shit. He's like, I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna ask to stay home from the combine so we could talk about this. And she's like, no, you go to the combine. We'll talk after. And kind of it's left in the air of like what are they gonna do? What's Asher gonna do? What's gonna happen? And we kind of go through that through the entire episode where we really don't know. And by the end of this episode, we still don't know really like what's gonna. I feel like we kind of know in seriousness of him talking to Billy about how Jamie just told me that she's pregnant, and I don't like, I have so many questions, but I have no answers. And it was nice because Asher realized in this episode, from Billy and because we see Coach Montez at the combine, and pretty much Asher was saying to Billy and saying to Coach Montez, like, you guys made me who I am today, and I just want to let you guys know that I'm super grateful for who you guys made me out to be. And I feel like in a way that kind of summed up, especially by the way that happened at the end of this episode, it kind of made them realize that time is short, and you know what I mean, I know Jamie's the one, and I'm all in with her. So I feel like we kind of got an answer, but I still feel like there's still a lot of things unsaid to see what Asher's going to do about what Asher and Jamie are going to do with that situation about her being pregnant. So I'm excited to see more of that and him kind of getting ready to be a father. And see if he's actually in all like he's in for the long haul with Jamie. We don't have like him saying that he's in for it. I feel like the episode alluded to that he's in it with Jamie for the long haul. So I'm excited to see what they do with that going forward. But the biggest thing out of this episode was definitely Jordan getting involved and getting in between what's going on with Billy and Spencer, about Spencer not forgiving Billy, about him taking the coaching position and kind of screwing over Spencer and also screwing over Coach Kenny, but mainly screwing over South Crenshaw about him being the coach and being the principal of South Crenshaw. And to go be the coach at GAU when they don't really need him as the head coach, and that's what he wants. So the fact that Jordan is getting in the middle, after Layla said in the previous episode, don't get in the middle between Spencer and Billy, like don't get in the middle of that, he ends up doing it anyways. And I feel like Jordan as a character, bro, like makes progress as a character and then like and does like reverse progress, like and takes like 20 steps back after he's took like 5 steps forward. He always takes 20 steps back, or he takes 20 steps forward and does 20 steps back. I feel like they always flip-flop with that character, and that really annoys me because it's like I'm waiting for that character to get to the point where like I feel like he's really progressed in his character development, but I feel like they always like to pull him back. And I feel like you'd think he would listen to people when he says don't get involved, and I was like, Jordan, you have no right to get involved with what's going on with Spencer and Billy. about him lying, because you were never you like, the reason that you're able to just shrug it off is because one, he's your father. Two, it's because you're having a good connection with your father right now. You know that you're on good terms with him, but in reality you were never in it all the way with how Spencer was with Coach Kenny and trying to get him to be the new coach of GAU. You were getting ready to bounce when you knew that GAU was being under investigation after the whole Coach Garrett thing. So in reality, Jordan was never about being in there for the long haul, trying to get Coach Kenny to be the new coach, and also trying to survive all of the media and press that GAU was under. So really, that's why I feel like Jordan had no right to get involved in between them, on top of the fact of Jordan is lucky that Spencer forgave him. Like, Jordan is really lucky. So have him come in here acting like, you should just forgive my father, when it's like, no, you're not. You don't understand why I'm so angry, when you were never where I was on trying to get Coach Kenny to become the new coach of GAU, and you don't understand what this means about your father not just screwing over Coach Kenny and screwing over me when I asked for help about getting Coach Kenny to be the new coach, but he's also screwing over people at South Crenshaw, students, of just everyday school, but I guess just students, but also athletes that he's training and being their coach and trying to get them into colleges and stuff like that. Jordan doesn't see what Spencer sees about Billy, about how he can be great at South Crenshaw. Yeah, he would be a good coach, but they don't need him there. But could be a great man at South Crenshaw when he knows that when Spencer's telling him, like, they need you there, we don't need you there. This is what you just want to be with us. When we don't need you there with us, we need you here. This is where you need to be. And it took until Coach Montez, it took until the conversation with Coach Montez that Billy had with Coach Montez about asking Montez, do you ever regret being here and not being working being a coach of college or in the NFL or anything like that? And she's like, no, this is where I need to be. I know this is my calling. I know I don't need to be anywhere else. And that kind of made Billy realize, oh shit, and it also took him after the conversation he had with Jabari first, when Jabari's like, I owe everything to you. I probably wouldn't be where I am at this top college if it wasn't for you and you being here and being my coach, on top of having the conversation with Coach Montez about this is where I need, about her saying this is where I need to be, this is my calling, and him realizing that, oh shit, Spencer was right, I need to make the right decision, and realizing that he ends up telling his athletes, saying I'm staying at South Crenshaw, I'm not going to go to GAU after all, this is my calling, this is where I need to be. So I was really happy about all that, but Spencer was not getting ready to forgive Billy, because he just felt like he couldn't, because he felt like Billy just didn't understand what Spencer was trying to say about this was his own, he was doing this for his own selfish reasons. But in reality, we end up finding out at the end of this episode that he did it to get closer to Spencer. He missed Spencer. He's like, I miss being your coach. I miss being there for you. This, you can't get rid of me that easy, regardless if that's what you want. You want to move on, and you want to, and you want me to be here. But this is what I wanted. I missed you. I wanted to be closer to you. I wanted to coach you one last time because I miss you. And that was really hard to hear when he ended up, sending Spencer that message saying, I miss you. That's why I was doing the thing that I was doing. But you made me realize that I need to be here. And he's like, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to get rid of me that easy, regardless if I'm not going to be your coach at GAU or not. Your family's family, and that's that. And it really sucks because we end up getting to the point where Asher and Coach Baker took, Billy took the bus to get to the combine and to get back from the combine, and then that's when they get in the accident. And we kind of alluded to that accident in the sneak peek trailer for this week's episode. And, everybody ends up getting out of the crash, except apparently I kept saying the entire time, and my sister kept saying the entire time, where the hell is Jabari? Because Jabari was on the bus, and he ended up, as far as we know, not getting out of the bus. And I was like, how the hell did you think you got everybody? When he said, I think I got everybody off the bus, I was like, okay, you think, why don't you go back on and check that you make sure that you got everybody off the bus? So I had a hard time understanding that from the writer's perspective, saying how does he think he got everybody off the bus when the bus is right there? It was light out at the time. The bus wasn't on fire. Nothing was going on. So how do you think you got everybody off the bus? You should have a head count of how many people you got on that bus. And you should have saw when you were getting people off the bus, and that's not a big bus. How would you not see anybody on the bus? You know what I mean? Because Jabari, like, he's on that bus. How'd you miss him? I was like, what? That doesn't really make much sense. So the fact of it is that when he realizes, oh my God, where's Jabari? And then we see the bus sliding off the cliff, you know, and I could have swore I saw gasoline coming out of it too. Billy ends up going back on, and Grace says, don't do it. And we pretty much get a cutaway where Spencer ends up showing up to the Baker house because, you know, he tried showing up earlier when Billy tried calling the first time to get, you know, to tell him what he was going to tell him, but he ended up giving him that voice message. But he ended up turning off his phone because he didn't want to talk to Billy after, you know, he left the combine in kind of like a weird situation. Billy saying, like, I need my time, I need my space. You know what I mean? And pretty much he just left the combine and left it on bad terms with, you know, bad terms with Billy. And then that's when, you know, when after he didn't answer the cell phone call, Spencer, Billy left him that message. And, you know, he ends up going to see Olivia again because when he ended up going to see Olivia for the first time, that's when he didn't answer the phone from Billy. And she didn't answer the door, Olivia. So then that's when he ends up probably going home, and ends up going back later to have that talk with Olivia about if he wants to get back together with her or not. But then that's when he ends up finding out, like, did you not get your text messages or phone calls to know what's going on right now? And then that's when she says, like, okay, like there was an accident on the highway, you know, with the students, with the football team. Like, there was an accident, we're not quite sure what's going on. You know what I mean? There was another collision crash ahead. You know, it's all, you know, blockaded off. We're not really sure what's going on, other than the fact that Billy's okay, my dad's okay, and everybody's okay as far as they know. But in reality, they didn't know about Jabari until, you know, we end up going back, and he ends up going back on the bus. And then we end up getting to the point where, like, we see Asher with Jamie, and I was like, okay, so Asher's okay, so I'm assuming Billy's okay, right? Because if Billy wasn't okay, Asher wouldn't go to see Jamie. He would go to the Baker house with everybody, with Grace and Jordan, you know what I mean, to be there for everybody else if Billy didn't make it. So I was like, we're all good. We get to that scene, and Spencer's listening to the voice message, thinking everything is okay, and realizing, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, I can forgive, you know, Coach. He realized that I was right. You know what I mean? And he's making the right decision, like I hoped he would. He ends up hearing in the background, Grace and Jordan end up walking in, and Grace is pretty much telling Laura that Billy's gone. And I kid you not, my heart dropped. I was like, there's no way in hell they just did this. There's no way in hell. These writers really dropped two big bombs on us with Asher, with Jamie being pregnant, and Asher being a father, and us losing in this episode Billy. I was like, they really said, fuck the fans. We're going to rock their world. We're going to, like, shake them to their core. And that's exactly what they did, because I was not prepared for this episode, all the shit that happened in this episode, especially Billy dying. I really didn't think that they were going to do it. I was like, I thought people at most were going to get injured, but not Billy dying, and possibly Jabari dying, because we don't know if Billy was if Jabari was alive when Billy went in to go look for him on the bus. We don't know, and even if he is, we don't know if Billy got him out in time before whatever happened, either if it slid off the road, off that cliff, or it blew up. We're not quite sure. So we still don't know if Jabari is alive. We don't know the situation, if it just slid down or if it exploded. I'm not quite sure. If Jabari was alive when Billy went on, and did Billy get him off in time before it slid or blew up? We don't know these answers. Like, I'm hoping Billy was able to get Jabari off, and he was okay enough to get him off, and Jabari didn't have too much of damage where he could still play when football starts up for college. I hope he can. I hope he survived, but we don't know. We probably won't know until next week's episode if Jabari survived or not. Regardless if, like, Billy, like, got him off in time, or if Jabari died on the bus or not. We don't know. I'm assuming that he was okay enough. Jabari and Billy got him off the bus before it slid off the cliff. But I kind of swore I saw gasoline pouring out from that bus. I'm not quite sure what the hell happened. But either way, to see Olivia just, like, I felt so bad. And especially Jordan when he's like, my dad's gone. that was tough because prior, before he got on the bus, he's like, you only have like you only, like he said like I only have one dad. And I mean, yeah, I'll have multiple coaches, but I only have one dad, and that really wrecked me because in a way, Spencer had two dads. He had, I think his name is Chris. It's been a long time since we've kind of like got like I've heard the name of that character. I think that's what his name was, and and then he had Billy. So I really feel bad for Jordan because he doesn't have another father figure like Spencer did. So I'm really hoping he doesn't blame Spencer for kind of like leaving it off on bad terms with his dad. I'm really worried about that and be like, you shouldn't have held that grudge against my dad. You know what I mean? Or he'll try to make it. I hope he doesn't try to make it Spencer's fault or some shit like that. I'm really hoping he doesn't try to do that, Jordan. And I feel like that'd be stupid if that's what will happen. But who knows? Jordan's such a hothead, and he's such a wild card. I don't know what he's going to do. And the fact of it is that I'm worried that Olivia is going to spiral again because she doesn't have her father anymore, and Laura's kind of going down her own grief. So I'm really worried for Olivia. I really hope Olivia doesn't try pushing away Spencer. I'm really hoping Jordan doesn't try pushing away Spencer or Layla. I'm really worried about Spencer and Layla, or Jordan and Layla's, relationship. I'm really worried about that. That Jordan might push her away, and then Olivia might push Spencer away and try to go down that rabbit hole of drinking. I'm really worried that shit's gonna get worse before it gets better. I'm really worried about that, and I'm gonna be putting the next week's episode in the community tab going forward. I think that's how I'm gonna put it in. I'm not gonna be putting it anymore in the video, because I'm kind of doing a new setup here, as you guys can see. So that way I can have a picture of the latest episode and the poster. So I think this is how I'm going to do it from now on. But the community, the next week's episode will sneak peek trailer will be up on the community tab every Monday. Same with All American Homecoming every Tuesday. I'll have the next upcoming episodes teaser sneak peek up on my community tab, and we could talk about it there about what we're thinking is going to happen in the next episode, along with you guys can say here as well. But I'm really worried about our characters going forward. But like I said, we had 2 wins this episode. Really, we have with Layla and JP and Clay. I'm assuming Clay's kind of off his high horse and maybe isn't trying to get any revenge after the whole Jordan messing up. Clay messing up Clay and Layla's kind of them putting it all underneath the bridge. Their beef that they had, their rivalry. I'm kind of hoping he just stops it now and everything is fine. But honestly, I have no clue. But I'm really happy that JP realized that he was wrong. He should have gave it to Layla and is proud of Layla for what she's doing, the empire that she's creating, and is happy that she's able to keep the legacy going with her officially having the name, and was probably going to make her label called now Keening Records. She'll probably call it that now. But we'll have to wait and see what she'll do, if she'll rename her label or not. I'm assuming she will, but I'm excited to see I'm happy that she got that win. I'm happy again, like I said, with Preach and Amina. I'm glad that whole case stuff is over and he settled things with the grandparents. But like I said, I'm really worried going forward with our characters and what's going to be happening because, next week's episode, which I'll talk about a little bit right now because I saw the teaser for next week's episode, which I'll talk about, but I'll still put it up on my community tab. Laura literally said, I shared my husband my entire life, and I'm not sharing him anymore, pretty much saying that it's only going to be a close family funeral, and is closing it out to everybody else, which that's not right to do. I understand that I understand that Laura is I might have said Grace a minute ago. I understand that Laura is grieving, but Billy was a person for that he was a father figure to everybody. He was a friend to everybody, and you can't do that. I mean, people need to have that moment to grieve too, and that moment to have that moment to have closure and move on. You know what I mean? That's at a funeral. That's something that gives everybody a chance to have that moment of really letting out their grief and about losing a loved one and moving on to the next chapter of their life, and knowing that their loved one is okay. So I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that's going to make major drama that Laura wants to close it out, even though it looks like Preach said, it doesn't matter that you close it out. Look at everybody that showed up outside, and it's everybody. I bet you it's gonna be everybody from South Crenshaw. I bet you it's gonna be everybody from Beverly that's gonna be showing up. And I'm talking people that moved on to college from Billy at South Crenshaw are gonna be coming back. That means we might see Chris. Maybe we might see Darnell. Maybe, I'm not quite sure, but I could see them, coming back. Maybe I don't know, because they kind of knew Billy, and I can't remember or not, but I think Billy was their coach at one point. I think he was Darnell's coach at one point. I can't remember. I don't think he was Chris's, but I could be wrong. It's been a minute. But I think that there's a chance we could see them come back. There's a chance that we could see a lot of old members from Beverly that graduated to come back to Billy's funeral. It's just, I can see both, communities of Beverly and South Crenshaw all coming. Neighborhoods included, because, he was a community man of both South Crenshaw and Beverly. So I just, Laura's going to realize that, it was wrong of me to want to keep Billy when he was such a big spirit and he was there for everybody. I think she'll realize that she was wrong in that, and realize that this is what Billy would have wanted. And you know what I mean? And it's going to be a sad episode next week. I'm not prepared for that, but I gotta say, I'm so shocked that the writers did this. I still can't get over that. Like, it just felt like this episode came out of nowhere. It felt like, why did we do this? And the fact that on the message that he left for Spencer, he said, "You're my All-American," that cut me deep. Like, that cut me deep when he said, "You're my All-American." Oh, man. I don't know. I'm worried about Spencer, especially, because he's going to be like, I can't believe... he's going to probably want to isolate himself, because he'll feel like he'll feel like he let down Billy. I think he'll feel like that. Like, I didn't get the chance to tell him, you know what I mean? I forgive him, and it's gonna be hard. I'm not ready for Spencer to go down that hole either, but God, I'm worried about our characters going forward. I'm really worried. I'm really invested for the rest of the season. I would say this last week's, and especially this week's episode, makes me invested for the rest of this season, just to see how they end this season. Again, I'm hoping season 6 is the last season, but who knows? But guys, I'm really curious to know, what did you guys think about this episode? Like, did the things that happened in this episode kind of like, were they just as shocked to you as they were to me? Especially with Billy's death, along with, Jamie being pregnant. Like, were we prepared for this? Let me know. Like, you know what I mean? Did we expect this? Let me know if you liked the episode. Let me know how you're feeling about everything that's going on right now. And yeah, guys, again, here, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on notifications, like this video. We'd love to have you guys here, a part of the family, part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. Yet again, guys, we're almost to 700 subscribers. The goal is to get to 700 subscribers. The initial goal is to get to 1,000. I know we can do that before the end of this year. That's the goal, to get to 1,000 before the end of this year, so we can get monetization. But other than that, guys, a lot more shows are coming, guys. These aren't the only 2 shows that are on right now. These aren't the only 2 shows that are going to be coming out. That we're watching right now. There's more shows to come. With Superman and Lois. I think that comes out March something. So we're going to be getting Superman and Lois pretty soon. Season 3 of that, and on top of that, we're going to be getting, a whole bunch of different things that I'm going to be filming on Patreon. A lot more watch parties are going to be happening for stuff, for like a lot of late night streams, watch parties for upcoming / me recording for Patreon. So a lot of things are going to be happening. So if you're interested in subscribing to my Patreon, definitely go do so, because a lot of things are going to be happening on there. As of right now, I'm reacting to The Last of Us, and I'm reacting to Bad Batch Season 2. So there's just a lot of things going on right now, and pretty soon we're going to be getting Mando Season 3. I think that comes out March 1st, I think. So I'm going to be doing probably late night watch parties for that, on top of me recording my reactions for Patreon. So if you're interested in that, definitely go do so, and go follow my Patreon. But yeah, guys, yet again, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.